Blessings, blessings. Okay, this is a very specific message today that I'm seeing coming up that I just want to address because I want to, let this one release from the consciousness. So as I said, all the scar tissue is dissolving from the consciousness. And when it comes up it's very real and very tangible and within people's lives and within people's inner systems and ways of being. So as these knots of scar tissue come up, we are called to look at them and bring them, illuminate them so that they can be what they actually are. And we don't have to continue to hold on to them and use the words of their spelling and uphold them through spells anymore. We allow them to be what they actually are. So what is happening now, excuse me, we are within, our central sun is of the Golden Mother magnetic. So when I say this, and I have been told this, when the full light, the fullness of the womb, the creational womb, is illuminated, then everything will be seen, everything will be known, there will be no shadow left. And we are within that process now. And when I say the creational womb, this is the space that we are within. No one is outside of this. Every vibrational truth is returning, every vibrational beginning, every fractal is returning to its vibrational truth under this frequency correction of the Mother's love. So this is, as these fractals are returning to their correct frequency, they are lighting up. And this is when I say, when the light of the womb, when the womb is fully illuminated, when every single fractal piece is returned to the frequency of its illumination, which is love, there is no more shadow left. There is no more confusion, no more distortion, no more false beginnings, no more karmic beginnings, no more dead ends and false starts. Okay, my love, so that is what's happening. So to speak today on this piece of scar tissue that's coming up in the collective, people reaching out to me, experiencing it in my own ways. Wonderful that it's, because we are a cohesive network, so beautiful that we are at this point. The frequency of love is so powerful that what has been hitherto like not seen is being seen. So what I've called this is the fracturing of the consciousness of innocence, the fracturing of the known, the embodied consciousness, the deeply innocent, simple, natural consciousness, the way of knowing, the fracturing of that within abusive and parasitic relationships and dynamics. So this is this is really to wake up my golden creators. I want to wake up my golden creators. I want to wake up my sun beings, and I want to say, look at what we are sustaining. Look at what we have sustained. Look at what we have grown our networks of consciousness around. This is a piece of scar tissue that is to be expunged from the consciousness. And this is the next directive where we are right now. So speaking of, I don't want to go too much into how this all began, because look, we know we've been under false frequency occupation. We have lived in a world of colonization and, war. We know all this. So it's not a huge stretch to know how the fractures came, how the fractures of our consciousness came. There have been fractures. There's fractures within humanity's consciousness. And the fractures done, wherever they were done, cause scar tissue. And then we work our network around the scar tissue. So I just want to talk about the scar tissue caused by this particular fracture, which allows abusive and parasitic relationships and dynamics to feed from and be sustained by our powerful little sun belly, our solar our solar center. So seeing plugs, siphoning plugs, plugged into the solar plexus at this time, unplug them, just command it. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. This is about frequency. This is about finding the dominant frequency and being the dominant frequency. The dominant frequency in our field is love. So when we find there is something attaching to us in the frequencies of shame or expectation or blame or grief or longing or whatever else, we just command through our own self-love that is dissolved. We just command that is removed from our solar plexus. And just to know, in doing that, this is not about, being the victim, although we have been victimized. Like, I'm not going to pretend these things haven't been harmful. They have been harmful. But there's deeper reasons for all of these programs in our consciousness, and they keep getting played out. These things, these fractures, these attacks, these frequency attacks were done on a large scale, and then they keep getting played out in our own lives. So we get to this point where we're like, okay, we are sustaining this. We are sustaining this scar. We are sustaining this knot in the consciousness. So, but I do want to speak this strongly because I want, and I see, and I know this within myself, there are people here as channels of pure love, bodies of pure love, who have been targeted and hijacked by outside voices of superiority, or outside voices of outside order, outside control, imposed order. Now, we may already have the fracture that we do not trust our own personal power. We don't trust our own primordial power, or maybe we haven't fully accessed it, or maybe we just don't trust it. So that lie within ourselves, that we can't trust our own personal power, our primordial rising power as our truth and our authority through the heart, allows outside governance within relationships, within dynamics, to insert itself. So any external governance truly relies on the denial of the self, the denial of the perfectly functioning system that is already within. But it also, what it does is that it causes so much pinch and so much irritation and resistance that it brings us to clarifying this internal authority that we already have. So returning to the consciousness of innocence, the cohesion, the thread, what brings the consciousness of innocence back together is pure love, real love, not concession, not tolerance, not sacrificing of the self, but pure love, the love that you were made of, which is strength, honor, joy, radiance. And this frequency of love, which is cohesing the consciousness right now, which is weaving the consciousness back together, back to innocence, is this love has everything within it to uphold the consciousness of innocence, the expression of this consciousness, this expression of this highest intelligence, this purest consciousness. There is no need for outside parameters and forces to impose that will upon the innocence. Innocence can be trusted. Innocence can be trusted. Our primordial innocence can be trusted. Our natural nature can be trusted. So I have found myself in places where my innocence is ridiculed, where my power is denied. And what I would say to that is that in this time when we are clarifying, it is just to be clear. Let's not put ourselves in those places. If we are already in a relationship or a dynamic where we are not allowed to be our full self, where we are not allowed to be radiant. We're not, we are almost like there is another's mind, another's word becoming the center of us, and we have to dance to their tune and work around them. And we always feel there's some underlying threat of explosion or some kind of punishment if we don't follow the unwritten rules. If we are in these dynamics that is relying on us being somehow controlled or limited or curtailed or silenced, or just having to learn a very particular way of speaking and being and dancing around another person's tune, in that relationship, in that dynamic, that person, the energy, that false frequency that is working through that person has now become plugged into our center, and our whole system is navigating and orientating around that person. This is one person. Of course, this is eons of frequency interference that we have, had the same themes of these parasitic overlords in all the different relationships, all the dynamics that we see it so much. So it's not to blame this person, but it's to get very clear that you cannot love a parasite to wholeness. You cannot love a parasitic energy into becoming love. It just needs to be starved, unplugged and starved. That is not an attack on a person. Every person then is free to find their way. And people would say the two sides of that, anything we engage in, we are receiving a benefit. So if you want to be really real about it, you have to ask yourself, well, what benefit do I receive from being in a relationship where I have to be less than I am, and that I get punished, or that I get harnessed, that I don't have my own voice? What is my benefit? And sometimes the benefit is that you get to hide, you get to feel safe. It's not real safety, but you get to feel safe and you get to hide. And it has been programmed into our center that agreeing and behaving in the way of that the love giver wants will bring us love, and we just need to unpack all of these lies placed upon our body that have brought these relationships to us again and again. This is not about blame, but it's just about we need to bring this. Our center is being brought into resonance with the central sun, which is now golden magnetic. So these things are speeding up because these things are impeding the generating capacity of the golden age. They are slowing us down, and they are continuing. When we are plugged into these relationships or dynamics of any kind whatsoever, we are giving our life force to whatever finite channel and frequency that parasitic energy is serving. We are serving it. If we are plugged into these relationships that are parasitic, abusive, we are actually feeding whatever frequency we're feeding ourselves to whatever false frequency that the parasitic system works upon. And what I can see is their system works upon shame and fear and smallness and division and power and superiority and hierarchy. So if we feel like we are at the top of a hierarchy, we are a parasite. If we feel we are in any relation, in any way, the top or the bottom of anything, we are in the parasitic frequency. If we feel ashamed, or if then we feel the opposite of shame, almost like superior, we are within that frequency. So we are accessible in that way to that system, that frequency. This is all about finding what the frequency of parasitic abusive relationships looks like and feels like, so we can recognize it and release it from our bodies, and release the systems we have built which uphold and sustain that frequency from our center. So we are doing this. It's amazing. It's absolutely wonderful. So I would say false frequency, right? So this false frequency which has imposed, built, sustained this network of parasitic creators, let's say. It's like more so a convoluted way of using the golden, beautiful light body to generate a false dream. Spelling is a huge part of this. This is why in abusive relationships there's always like gaslighting and deflection and denial and confusion and a weakening of your inner voice, a weakening of your known truth, because this frequency is working on its sound. It's working on a spelling to make its mind what we will take on and give honor to, as opposed to our inner word, our inner voice, our known voice. It is really interesting what I'm seeing as this is revealing itself to us. These trauma bonds. It's almost like this parasitic frequency, which some people really house. It seems to be their dominant frequency. And, you know, these people who have this, and I've met them and I've encountered them, their aim seems to be to make themselves very, very useful. But the way they do that, they exploit the fact that you have fracture, you know, which is most of us maybe have some kind of fracture, or they create fracture within you to make themselves the primary mind of the relationship, to make themselves the center of the relationship. So maybe they will convince you through gaslighting that your perception is incorrect. Maybe they will say you're too sensitive, or you're too soft, or whatever. The different projections that are thrown, and that is to destabilize and either exploit the fracture that we already have, or to fracture further. And, you know, let's be real, people who love, who are embodiments and channels of love, they see a person with fracture and they aim to weave that person with their love back to wholeness. So that is the difference. There is a difference, and that difference has to be honored. Not everybody sees a fractured person and finds a way to exploit them. That is a finite parasitic consciousness that is having very particular trouble at the moment sustaining itself. So I want people to watch out for this and reject it. It is not our job to feel sorry for anyone, to offer them a concession, to feed them a little piece of ourselves because we feel bad, or because they've made terrible threats, or because they seem so weak and pathetic and useless. This is, you know, that's on a frequency. Every person has a soul. Every person has gold within them. Every person, the love frequency is for everyone. And we may be holding people outside of finding that by feeling sorry for them, by giving them a place within us. That's not their place. So no matter how complicated, I know I say this like it doesn't have real life implications, but no matter how complicated, frequency has to be chosen. Vibration has to be chosen. It is the most important thing we can do now. And if we are these bodies of love, if we are these, like, we know we have this generating capacity, and everywhere we look, we want to love people to wholeness. If we know this about ourselves, let's honor that. Let's not feed ourselves to wolves who don't at this time have that capacity. That is not what we're here for. And we are actually sustaining the whole parasitic system by the misuse of our love. Okay? We need to uphold our love, uphold who we are with honor and strength, and know that it is actually enough to be who you are. You don't owe anyone a sacrifice. You don't owe yourself as a sacrifice. You don't have to, like I said, you cannot love. You know, when I give my love to children, I worked as a Montessori teacher. I work with my own children. When I give them my love, they grow. They grow from it. They take my love and they use it, and they get stronger and they get better. And that's the right use of my love. If I give my love to someone who, I don't even know the words, but if you give your love to the wrong person, they don't grow into wholeness, even though that's what we're intending. They will just pull you into fracture. And then when you are in fracture, they'll take over. And then you will have a trauma bond and you will feel like you need this person. You don't know what to do. Your clarity of mind is gone. You have a foggy mind. You don't know yourself anymore. You can't make a decision anymore. And I speak this with love and compassion. I know how this happens. It's happened to me. But I just want us to be really honest about it. Like, let's be honest about it. Let's break it apart. Let's get the golden generator side clear. And then the other side can get itself clear. And maybe we are a bit of both. I don't know. But let's just try to find clarity with the golden generator side of things. The generating energy of all systems. Let's get clarity there. Let's not jump ahead into sentimentality and what about this, what about that. Let's allow the chips to fall as they are supposed to fall. Every choice made in truth is the right choice. And whatever the consequences are of an honest choice are the best consequences, no matter how messy. I think Jordan Peterson said something like that. I was like, oh, that's a wonderful thing. Okay, so co-joined. This is the word. When we have this parasitic person in our lives, or a dynamic, a way of relating, where they have to somehow be in charge, and it can be very hard to identify when you're in it, but it's kind of like they're running rings around you. They keep moving the goalposts. Nothing you say is enough. Love is never enough. There's always some unspoken kind of game going on around you. They say things out of nowhere that demonstrate they don't have a loving feeling. It's more about they're trying to position you the whole time, beneath them. So when we are in that, we become co-joined, and they are doing what they know how to co-join with us, because they are coming from a finite consciousness. They're coming from great instability and great fear of wanting to survive, but it's not the soul that's doing those behaviors. This is that false frequency trying to survive. So that's that is that. They're trying to survive. The parasitic frequency is trying to survive by making us believe less of who we are, by fracturing us further, exploiting our fracture, and confusing us, weakening us, and trying to stand over us in one way or another. It is an absolute waste of our energy and our time, and you can't make good out of it. You can't make good out of it. Your intention is always judged rather than felt. Yeah, that's true. It's like you're not actually being felt by them. That's very true. You're almost in a kind of you're in a cage, and like this holographic cage, and they judge you based on where you step or don't step, based on where they think you're supposed to step. That's that's an interesting one. They don't feel you. They don't feel the love, actually. Yeah. So you are left then in a holographic version of who you are. So no. So co-joining. Yeah, that is co-joining. We have co-joined with much, but now we have to come to a place where we can cohese. We need cohesion. And the only way for cohesion is purity, which is truth, accuracy, we need, we need to let go of these co-joinings, these things that are draining us and sickening us and confusing us and weakening us. On our own, we are very strong on our own, and I don't want us to be on our own, but I mean, when left alone in purity and innocence, we are running on the frequency of love already. We already have that. It's never a question. Right? We don't do things to try to trick people. We never try to weaken people. We never try to fracture people. When we see a fracture in someone, we try to push them, get them through it and find a way to make them stronger and help them, and whatever that is. If it's kind, soft love or tough love, we see our people in fracture and we try to help them find their wholeness and their self-love and their strength. That is what we do. So these are two separate energies which cannot cohere. That is the energy and the presence and the frequency of pure love. It cannot cohere with parasitic energies. It just can't. It will just continue to deplete the body, the energy body. So on our own, left alone, without that interference that tells us that we need them. That's the funny thing, it weaves its way in, because parasites the aim is to gain control of the mind of the host. It weaves its way in and tells you, well, you need them, or maybe they need you so much so that you owe them or whatever. But when we are free of that, we realize, well, we have love in abundance. We have an overflow of love, which means an overflow of energy, which means, and that also what comes back is this overflow of intelligence, innocent consciousness, cohesive consciousness, pure thought, new ideas, eternal ideas, life springs, well springs just rising from beneath, and primordial power coming back. So, and when we are in that position, let us get to that position and rise as that. And it will become clear what is to be done with the other, people who are really heavily programmed by this finite, fearful energy, which, tells them to latch on to somebody to survive. We will know what's to be done there. They will know. It will be known. But I will just say, if we are trying to manage that, we are trying to control, and that is outside of our permission. We're not to control anyone. So this is what I'm imploring my golden fleet, our golden fleet, to do, is to just bring it all back in. I want us in strength. I want us to rise in our own strength and know that we have absolutely everything available to us. Yeah, nurture ourselves. Absolutely nurture ourselves. Let us grow in the truth of who we are. If we are these powerful love bodies, these beacons of love and light, then let us be whole. So that will guide the way. We are to be leaders, not feeders, right? We're not to be fed from. We are here to lead. So, and the place where the parasitic energy frequency moves in through us is our own fractures, is our own distrust of ourselves, is the stagnant parts of ourselves. So we could say that those energies do a service to us, because they show us what we are not, and they show us what we are supposed to be, and it almost compels us to activate the stagnant parts of ourselves. We don't get to have stagnant parts. We don't get to switch off any part of the system. We don't get to. Every part of the system has to be in full golden function. We are returning to this golden mechanical clock, like cogs of a golden machine. We are returning to a fully functional system, everything, a unit. So these parasitic energies, frequency that we are dispelling from the body now, have just been occupying the space of fracture within us that we are to fill, so we can almost follow the parasite to our own personal power. So that is that. You could say the parasitic shadow and frequency is a space holder, a placeholder, holding the absence of us, holding the memory of us, holding the space that we are supposed to fill. So that's what we need to do now. That's what we need to do now. So we are coming to cohesion, right? The only way for us to expand and become a body of one tribe, one shoal, is cohesion. It's not by co-joining, codependency, any of that stuff. It's cohesion. So in order for that to happen, we have to have sound clarity, purity within. So releasing first and foremost the place in ourself that has been constructed around this false frequency, this parasitic shadow frequency, which speaks words to us to frighten us of our own power, deny us of our own presence, removing the place where that catches onto us. Because when we hold those words to us, when we believe those false words, we're creating a false center within ourselves, a false sound center, a false vibration within ourselves, and we are upholding that false frequency, and that is enslaving humanity, actually. So we are coming to we need to come to cohesion and resonance, right? This is a harmonic universe. Every permission is granted by resonance. There is no salvation or damnation. There is no salvation, no damnation. There is no way we can offer damnation or salvation. That's false, which we know. But if we come to that place where we feel like we have to save somebody, we're in the false frequency, you know? When we come to the place where we feel we need to judge someone to damnation, we're in the wrong frequency. We're in the false frequency. So the way, it's to be in our own pure clarity. That's the love frequency. We have been told, we have been confused as to what love is also. Love has been tied to sacrifice. Love has been tied to self-denial. And it's just not true. Love has been, we've been told we're supposed to be arguing and, standing up for ourselves and fighting within relationships. And maybe people want to do that, but I don't do power play in relationships. If my voice isn't central, then it's not a relationship, it's something else. If my wisdom as a woman, in anything, in a circle, in a relationship, in any dynamic, if my offering is fought with and I have to battle through thorns to prove myself, I just turn around and leave. That's not my place. So it really just comes back to personal honor. This isn't a battleground, this is a love field, Our lives are supposed to be good and enjoyable and pleasurable, and our love and our life, everything is supposed to rise from an overflow. We give from an overflow. We are to be brought to flower, to strength and flowering and fruiting. That's what love is supposed to do for us. It's supposed to strengthen us with ourselves and bring us to the place where we are in overflow, So, yeah, it's amazing. So the natural consciousness is coming back. The consciousness of innocence is coming back. Yeah. Consciousness of innocence is coming back. It's coming. And as this is happening, the love frequency is our core tone, and therefore the containment, like a toroidal field within ourselves. But because we are being brought into resonance, we are always in resonance with the central sun. So whatever way the central sun is, that we are that. We can't be outside of that. The central sun has been corrected to golden magnetic center, as opposed to like a vacuum black sun center. So we are being brought back to golden fullness, right? So this is around our universe. It is around our toroidal field. So we are within the golden halo of Mother that I've talked about so much. We are in it. We are held in the sound of Mother. We are held together by the sound of Mother, which is love. So within our field and within our body, the frequencies that they do not coexist, do not cohere with love, are being shown to us. And just to say that they've been around a long time, so there's an interweaving, an interwoven, so a co-joining, I say. So let's go through that. Let's pick that apart. Let's dispel it. We have the power of command. And take it easy on yourself and take it easy on everyone else. But do not, please do not let yourself be in a relationship or dynamic, a grouping, where you are dishonored, where you have to fight for your value, where you have to compete, where you have to silence yourself, where you have to modify who you are, make yourself less, where you are depleted, where you just come away and you're exhausted and you don't know why. If you are anything less than radiance in a relationship or a dynamic or a group, it's not your place. Now, of course, places, relationships can bring about tears and, overflow of that, like release. But that's still a radiance, that's still a life, it's a bubbling. So when I say radiance, that isn't just like super happy, that's an overflow of life, whether that is joy, tears, laughter, excitement, ideas. Like, that's what connections are for. To come together on the same frequency and to explode like fireworks. And of course that might involve the release of tears and things like that. But if we are in any dynamic or relationship that wants to make us smaller than we are, that wants to give us outside rules, that has control measures, and sometimes they're so subtle. It could just be someone, when you speak, they go silent. So they're teaching you not to say what you just said again. It can be very subtle. And then it is up to us to find the ways we are subtly controlled by others, and to release those scars within ourselves of how, it doesn't matter how they got there. We can say it's parents, but we can say it's like frequency interference. The scar tissues are within the consciousness. So now we are just letting them leave. So the purest vision is the consciousness of innocence. It's the return to innocence, the return to love intelligence. Love is the frequency which is cohesing the consciousness. Anything outside of love will not stay in humanity's consciousness. It is being expunged, whatever that is. And if that is in a person that you love, there's nothing, you let them release it, don't love their dysfunction, let them release it, give them the space and the freedom. This frequency healing is for everyone. Everyone is inside in this, no one is outside in this. So we don't need to give of our own energy. There is source, and the obviously the idea is that everyone connects with source. We know this, their own source, not taking from each other, because that's no way to live either. It's full of fear, full of nervousness and anxiety, So my loves, we are returning to innocence, and that takes a change in consciousness, a purifying of consciousness, a releasing of scar tissue and knots that have taken us, that have been caused by the fractures that have taken us away from innocence. There is no sin, there is no shame, there is just the fractures within the consciousness of innocence. And love is the cohesing frequency, which is bringing us all back together. But like I said, if people are displaying entitled, demanding, nasty energies towards you, you cannot cohere that. You need to let that one go, okay? Or undermining, over-talking, whatever. Those energies, and then you have to ask yourself, well, why am I here with this? Why am I selling a piece of myself to be with this person or with this group. Okay, so part of me believes I'm finite. Part of me believes love is difficult to find. Part of me believes friendships are hard to find. So there you have discovered the finite not in yourself, because none of that is true. Love is abundance. It is the frequency of reality. Opportunities are abundant. Everything is in abundance. Everything is in abundance, waiting for the correct frequency to formulate and be attracted to you. So we find the place in ourselves which makes the unacceptable acceptable. And that is a finite knot, a scar, which is telling us we are a finite being and we have to struggle and sacrifice parts of ourselves. So as we release that within ourselves, that has massive implications for everyone as well. Okay. All right, my loves. It is happening, and so much love and support with this, and take care of yourself and know that you owe the world your strength. Hey, Christy. You owe the world your strength and your wholeness, that is all. To give glory and honor to the world, to our collective, is to grow strong, to our mother, right, to our soil, is to grow strong and be in flower and be in fruit. That is all you owe the world. To give honor and glory to the love that has grown you and sustained you all your life. Yeah, that is it. So let's get to that place. Okay, my loves, have a beautiful day. Thanks for being with me. Take care.